From the Homes for Heroes studios in Minneapolis, Minnesota, you are tuned in to Real Talk with Homes for Heroes. Here is your host, Seth Jeska.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Talk with Homes for Heroes, the show where we discuss digital marketing tactics and strategies to help you grow your real estate or mortgage lending business. I'm Seth Jeska, the emerging media manager at Homes for Heroes, and I am coming to you from the slightly updated and slightly improved Real Talk with Homes for Heroes studios. You probably can't see it from this camera shot, but I actually have my computer, everything that I need to get my day-to-day job duties done at Homes for Heroes. Is Homes for Heroes, as well as many other companies across the globe, are encouraging social distancing and safety for their employees by encouraging their employees to work from home. So I am adjusting to this new reality, as many of you are as well, of this working from home deal. So slightly changed, slightly different Homes for Heroes studios, but you can't see it in the camera, so that's neither here nor there for you. But I thought today I wanted to talk a little bit about Success Camp 2020. That's originally what I wanted to talk about. There was so much information, so much valuable information, so many great tips, education, inspiration, and fun that came out of Success Camp 2020 that was all focused around helping our real estate agents and mortgage lenders reach and serve the heroes in their community more effectively and efficiently. And that's originally what I wanted to talk about on this show. And I am still dedicated and committed to producing that show if that is something that you all are interested in. If you are interested in hearing about Success Camp 2020, please leave your comments below this show. I would really love to hear if you're interested in hearing that content. But I wanted to take a slight deviation from that and maybe postpone that for a week because I was a little bit conflicted. So when I was thinking about today's episode, I was thinking, do I produce a show that addresses it's not even the elephant in the room. It's the reality that we're facing. As I talked about, I am working from home. Many of you are facing a much more drastic reality than I am. For me, my situation has changed a little bit. I am working from home. I don't have any kids. I am getting into my personal life a little bit, whether you're interested or not, but I am a bachelor, so I don't have kids that I'm worried about entertaining and educating as the school districts here in Minneapolis have shut down due to the coronavirus and preventing the spread of this pandemic. I don't have a spouse that was laid off from a job or an industry that has been impacted by this pandemic. Those are not my realities. My reality is that I'm a little bit more distant from my colleagues. I do still have the ability to talk with them at any given time in a day through chat or through text or through a phone call. I just don't have that face-to-face interaction. That's my reality. That's how things have changed for me. For you, your realities are much different. They could be much more drastic. Perhaps you have 5 kids. They all are now a part of your workday because they don't go to school. Or perhaps you have a spouse that works in the hospitality or travel industry and they just got laid off from their job because their industry was hit so hard by what our economy is facing with this pandemic. So we all face different realities. And when I was thinking about doing today's show, I was like, well, I really don't want to feed into the anxiety and the panic that's surrounding coronavirus. We all know that we're up against something and we know what that is, but there's so many things that we don't know about it, right? And that creates a lot of fear. It creates a lot of panic. I know it does for me personally, but I don't want to feed into that because I'm not an expert on that. And there's plenty of people in our world who are already feeding that. We go to the grocery store and we see that toilet paper is bought out, and you can't buy antibacterial hand sanitizer. Clorox wipes are bought out. There's all this surrounding it. We're facing something that we don't know what the outcome is going to be. And that creates a lot of fear and anxiety. And much of it is warranted and some of it is unwarranted. I don't want to feed into that. But I didn't feel right just skipping past the coronavirus and not talking about it, because it's something that we're facing. It's pretty much the only thing that we're tuned into on TV. I can say that I tune in a lot. I want to know exactly what I can do to make sure that our country gets through this, what I can do from my personal role, what the CDC recommends, even what the leader of the free world recommends in terms of what we do as individuals and a community to help us get through this faster. I tune into this a lot. So this is at the top of my radar. And I really felt like I just couldn't skip by it and do an episode dedicated to Success Camp 2020 without first addressing the coronavirus. But as I said, I don't want to feed into the anxiety and the fear surrounding it. So what I want to do on today's episode is I want to talk about some ideas that might help you as real estate professionals or lending professionals help your communities, help others, help yourself, continue to grow your business as we navigate these uncharted territories. Now, I'm not going to give you tips on digital marketing tactics or strategies today. Instead, I want to give you tips on how you can serve and support help others who might need your expertise or just your help through this time, that you can lead with this servant mindset that we talk about at Homes for Heroes so often. Lead with this servant mindset that you're going to serve, support, and help others without expecting anything in return. And when you see it on the other side of this pandemic, when we do get through this, because we will get through this, we are we are a strong nation, and we are resilient and strong people, and we will get onto the other side of this pandemic stronger and better than ever. So when you do get on the other side of that, when we do get on the other side of this pandemic, you have that support, that trust, and that loyalty from your community, because you were there for them through these hardest times. And when I was thinking about this, I was taken back to the events of 9/11. So 9/11 was nearly 2 decades ago, and I was 23 at the time. I still recall the events of 9/11. And just to quickly go back there, I remember I was working in the hospitality industry at that time. I was a server at a restaurant, and the restaurant that I worked at was a breakfast, lunch, and dinner place. And on 9/11, I was actually not working. I had the day off. But as I did so often on many of my days off, I would go in to the restaurant that I worked in. I would eat breakfast. I don't know. I was just a weird dude, as I still really am a weird dude now. But I enjoyed going in there for breakfast on my days off. So on 9/11, I was driving. It was about 3 blocks away from where I lived. And I was driving because I was lazy. I drove to the restaurant. And I remember as I was pulling into the parking lot, the radio personality came across the radio and just announced that the second plane had hit the second tower. And I remember it felt like I was being hit with a left hook out of right field. I didn't know if this was a really sick joke. I mean, I don't know any radio station that would think that that's a good PR stunt to have. But that's what it felt like. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know the reality of it. Just like today, as I walked into that restaurant, I was glued to the TV. I wanted to learn about what was going on. And just like today, all of us that were glued to that TV didn't know what we were up against. We didn't know what was going to be the ultimate outcome. we were facing an unknown that really created an anxiety and a fear among our communities. And I remember some of that fear and anxiety was the phone lines being jam-packed. It was you were extremely lucky if you were able to complete a phone call on your mobile phone. I personally had my sister living in Phoenix, Arizona at the time, and I wasn't necessarily fearful of her safety. Although I didn't know what was going on, I didn't know what we were up against, I wasn't necessarily fearful of her safety, but I wanted to check in with her. I wanted to be able to talk to her, see how she was doing. And I remember I could not place a phone call for hours. I just kept on getting a busy signal because the phone lines were so jam-packed. I also remember that I lived directly across from a gas station in South Minneapolis at the time. It was called Amoco. People who are from the Midwest might recall the gas station called Amoco, and I lived directly across from it, and I could see the gas station from my living room window. And I remember on the night of 9/11, me and my girlfriend at the time we were sitting at my living room window, and we just could see cars lined up down the block as far as the eye could see, waiting to get gas. There was a fear and anxiety that there was a gas shortage coming on, and people were lining up to get gas. Just like you see at the grocery stores today, people are fearful that we're going to have to hunker down and be in our houses, be in our homes for months upon end without toilet paper or without our necessities, without food or soup or whatever it is. There's that fear. There was that fear back in 9/11. But what I also recall from 9/11 were so many of the inspiring stories of people coming together to help each other through this difficult time. One of those stories was Steve Buscemi. If you're familiar with Steve Buscemi as an actor, he's in a lot of my favorite films. But before Steve Buscemi was an actor, he was actually a firefighter at the New York City Fire Department. And on 9/11, his career was acting. He dropped what he was doing, went to his former fire station, and suited up with his former colleagues. And for a week straight, 12 hours a day, he walked shoulder to shoulder with those firefighters to recover bodies at ground zero. I also recall Gander, Canada, which is a small town in obviously Canada. And during 9/11, if you recall, all flights were grounded, and all incoming flights into the United States were no longer allowed to land after the presidential orders were put in place that all air traffic within the United States was to cease. So all flights in the United States were grounded, and all flights that were in mid-route into the United States were basically told that they could not land in the United States. So they had no place to land. They had no destination place. And they did this obviously for the safety of U.S. citizens, because we had no clue what we were up against. We just know that 3 planes had been hijacked, 4 planes had been hijacked and had crashed, one into the Pentagon, one into the rural area of Pennsylvania, and 2 into the Twin Towers. We didn't know how many other planes would be hijacked. So for the protection of the U.S. citizens, they put a cease on all air traffic within the United States. Gander, Canada opened up their runways to these U.S. flights. It's a small town in Canada. They allowed these U.S. flights to land on their landing strips. Not only did they open up their airport, they also provided shelter and food for the people on those flights who are now stranded in Canada and had no way to get home. I also recall the firefighters, the healthcare workers who were off duty, who were at home with their families when we all saw these events happen. They did not hesitate. They stood up. They ran down to ground zero. they asked what they could do to help support and save people. I also recall the restaurants that stepped up for our first responders at that time, providing food, water, when many of them were working around the clock with very, if any, sleep to find and rescue people. These restaurants stepped in to provide food and water when they needed it, so they didn't have to worry about where their next meal was coming from, whether they would be able to stay hydrated. These restaurants stepped up so our first responders could focus on serving our communities. Those are the stories that I remember from 9/11. And, I certainly hope that our country is not facing such drastic circumstances as 9/11. I certainly don't want to compare the current pandemic to 9/11 because they're two completely different scenarios. What I do know is that we're up against an enemy, whether it is terrorism or a pandemic. Our country is up against something, and it is unknown what we're up against, and it's unknown what the results will be. But more importantly than ever, through these hard times, it's important that we're there for each other. And this message was really driven home for me this weekend at Success Camp 2020, when we had the honor of having a guest at Success Camp 2020, President Yost. He's the president of the National Fraternal Order of Police. And President Yost took the time to share an important message with all of us about what's really important to law enforcement and what's really important to our communities as we face these hard times. And real quick, before I go into today's episode, I want to share that message from President Yost of the National Fraternal Order of Police with all of you.
We're all in it together. Whatever it's going to do, it's going to do. And if you think it does it all on its own and we don't have any influence in it, then shame on you. I think we have that opportunity to be that agent of change and that calmness. And I think our ability to be able to reach out to people at their difficult moments and show them a path forward really what defines who we are. So I say you continue to do what you're doing, and always recognize that I mentioned it earlier. I mentioned it again. It is a butterfly effect. That butterfly effect is you change one small, tiny thing, and the outcome can have some pretty profound differences. And so the question is, what is that butterfly effect? I can tell you in the service industry, there's definitely a butterfly effect. That one simple, genuine belief in someone, they can sense that relationship. The things that we do that make them feel like they're valued. At the end of the day, when we miss the mark, because you know what? Guess what? You're never going to miss the mark. I mean, you're never going to hit the mark all the time, right? And what's going to carry you through at the end of the day is the little things that we did to make people feel valued. And so my suggestion would be is look, just be a positive force out there to make some good things happen, and let first responders, let the heroes know that you recognize what we're going through, you recognize our challenges, and you want to be part of some solutions to it.
Such an inspiring and profound message from the president of the National Fraternal Order of Police, President Yost. Something that I think is critically important that we pay attention to and actually hear at this time, as our nation is going through these unprecedented and uncharted territory. So there's something that I really pulled out of President Yost's speech, and it is, we are all in it together. We have that opportunity to be that agent of change. Our ability to reach out to people at their difficult moments and show them a path forward defines who we are. Now, in today's episode with Real Talk with Homes for Heroes, the content that I provide will be pretty short. What I'm hoping that all of you who are tuning into this episode of Real Talk with Homes for Heroes is take that message away from President Yost. Be that agent of change. Work with the people in your community through this difficult time. Not only will it define who you are, but lead with that servant mindset that we so often talk about here at Homes for Heroes. Lead with that servant mindset. Give to others at this time when they need you the most. Expect nothing in return, and you will be much more successful than you ever thought. So the takeaway one is I'm hoping that you really take that message with you and keep that at the forefront of your thoughts and your actions as you move through these next couple weeks, couple months, whatever we're up against with this pandemic. Keep that message at the forefront of your thoughts and your actions. And then what I'm going to leave you with is I'm going to give you some suggestions on how you can do that. Now, these suggestions aren't going to be 100% perfect. And as a community, obviously, we can all help each other. So what I'm going to ask of you, please, if you have suggestions on how we can do this as a community, please leave those comments in the section below this episode. Sharing with each other on how we can all get through this by helping and supporting each other in our community as real estate professionals. We only stand to gain from that. So I'm going to give you a list of takeaways that I have and suggestions on how you can serve and support the people in your community. This list is not perfect, and please just keep this as a way to inspire thought and creativity and build off of it. So now is a good time to reach out to your past clients, and it's a good time to reach out to them and ask, how can you help them? Yes, it might be the best time to refinance a home that we've seen in years. Yes, that might be one of the best times to sell and purchase a home. Don't lead with that. Lead with how can you help them? What are they up against? Your past clients might have bigger concerns. Are some of them more susceptible to being sick from the coronavirus or getting impacted by catching the coronavirus? Are some of them just not capable of going to the grocery store because they are elderly or they have diabetes? There are people who are living with real fears. Some of them are your past clients, and you might be able to serve them in a capacity outside of the real estate industry. Reach out to them. What is it that they need help with? You might have a specialty with taking care of children. There are thousands of ideas that we could come up with how you could serve and support your past clients outside of the home buying or lending process. Now is the time to reach out to them and continue to nurture and build those relationships by just simply asking, do they have everything they need? Are they safe? Is there anything that you can do to serve and help them? So reach out to your past clients. Now is not the time to necessarily lead with a sale. Lead with, what do they need? People will appreciate that. People understand that now is a good time to buy a house. People understand that now is a good time to refinance a house or refinance their home. And they're going to lean on you for your expertise to help them navigate that. But when you reach out, lead through a servant mindset. Help home buyers navigate through these economically challenging times. So again, your past clients or people who maybe have not, who are not past clients of yours. There are homeowners that have serious concerns about what our economy is going through and how that will impact them as a homeowner. Now, I'm going to, when you're educating home buyers, or educating homeowners through these economically challenging times, I always recommend leaning on transparency rather than, the panic and the hysteria that surrounds it. Lean on transparency. Help these people understand what they're truly up against with the way mortgage rates are going up and down, the way the stock market is going up and down, and the way that the housing market is being impacted by it. Everybody's situation is different, and being able to help them navigate through these challenging times will not only help them ease some of their anxiety, ease some of their stress, it will help you build a relationship with these people. So helping homeowners navigate through these economically challenging times through your expertise is an extraordinary way to start building relationships with people in your community. So I highly recommend, whether that's through content on social media, whether, again, it's engaging with past clients through email or through phone calls, just communicating what they need to know through full transparency, that's going to help them navigate through these difficult times more comfortably and more confidently. Create and share tips to help people practice social distancing at home. You might not be, this might not be what your expertise is in, but you have some type of expertise, some type of hobby. So I really like the fact that I like what we've seen on social media. We've seen, a personal trainer over in Italy who was helping people who were on lockdown in an apartment complex. He was leading a workout session and everybody was getting engaged. We've seen performers here in the United States who have been practicing social distancing by recording performances at home on social media. There may be some type of hobby, there may be tips that you have that are not necessarily related to buying, selling, or refinancing a home, but by producing content that might help somebody occupy their time, might help them help their kids through the whole homeschooling effort, there might be tips or hobbies that you can share that is going to engage and help other people make it through these challenging times. So just because social distancing might not be your expertise, social distancing is not any of our expertise. None of us are experts in social distancing, but we are experts in things that we are passionate about. We are experts in things that help us occupy our time. And now is the time to share those with other people. Now, again, I understand that this isn't directly related to real estate or lending. It doesn't need to be. Everything during this time doesn't need to be about business. This is uncharted territories that we're going through. And these are ways that you can continue to build relationships and help the people in your community through these challenging times. Rally around your local business community. Every community is different. San Francisco is basically on 24-hour lockdown. Everything is shut down. Business is just not happening in physical locations within San Francisco. Here in Minneapolis, the governor has ordered all restaurants, all movie theaters, all nightclubs, all bars to shut down for at least 2 weeks. Could be longer than that. Right now, the only thing that is pretty much open is malls, which I think is going to be short-lived. I think malls will be shut down by the end of this week. Libraries are still open. I don't know how long that will last. We'll definitely have to keep an eye on the numbers here in Minneapolis and see how many cases increase over the next few days. But I have a feeling that many of these public locations will be shut down. And what that means for local businesses is one of the most heartbreaking things. Shit is one of the most heartbreaking things for me to see is people who have spent their life building their business and just overnight watching it get shut down and losing their livelihood, losing what they're passionate about. And they have closed their doors in the best interest of their community. Restaurants, bars, hospitality workers, they're all out of business to protect our community and to keep our community safe, because we know that the coronavirus is easily spread through these places where people join in community. And now's the time for us to support them. These people need us, and there's ways that we can do it. Now we'll call out one specifically. I have no partiality to delivery services, but I know that Grubhub is supporting local restaurants. They're waiving all of their fees to restaurants so that restaurants can keep their cash flow coming through. They have also started a foundation that you can donate to, and I'm going to provide a link in the description of this show that you can go donate to. And that money is being funneled to restaurant owners, bar owners, and employees who are suffering through this challenging time. So not that I am encouraging people to order through Grubhub through my own vested interest, or that I say Grubhub is better than Uber Eats or any of the other delivery services. But I know that is a way that we can show our support for our local business community as they go through these challenging times. These are people who literally had a paycheck last week who will not have a paycheck for weeks to come. And thankfully, the government is putting things in place to help, our workforce get through this, but we can all do a part. So, whether it's just simply ordering delivery food, or ordering takeout from your local restaurants and continuing to find ways that you can support them. I'm going to give a shout out to Heather Hunter Kelly, one of our great real estate agents down in Longview, Texas. She came up with an idea and she shared it in our private affiliate Facebook group. Buy a gift card. If you don't feel comfortable going out to eat, buy a gift card from a local restaurant. And once we get on the other side of this pandemic and we can go enjoy our food at our local restaurants or bars, you can redeem that gift card. And that the purchase of that gift card directly from that local business will help him make it through these challenging times. They're highly dependent on cash flow. So there are ways that we can continue to support our local business community. And if you can organize a movement around that in your community, your local business community will recognize you for that. And just like you support others in these times of need, they're going to recognize you and support you in your time of need. So rally around your local business community. Focus on your professional development. This is more of a way to occupy your time. If you see that business is slowing down, there's all types of ways that you can focus on building your professional development. Maybe there is things that you want to, maybe you want to become a military relocation specialist and you want to become certified in that. Now's the time that you could look at online courses to become a military relocation specialist. There are courses on Udemy, Coursera, LinkedIn, all these online portals where you can continue professional development. And selfless plug, I like to produce an episode called Digital Dive with Homes for Heroes once a week that is dedicated to helping you guys develop your digital marketing strategies and tactics. So you can always tune into that on our Homes for Heroes YouTube channel. I'll provide a link to Digital Dive right here if you want to check it out. But now is a time where you can really focus on your professional development. Well, what's going to help you grow in your free time as a real estate agent or a mortgage lender? I look forward to things I can learn online through videography, photography. The more time that I have here to spend at home, I need to occupy it. So what better way to spend that time and occupy that time than investing in ourselves and grow professionally so we can better serve those when things get back to a more normal state. And then this one, adjust your content schedule. So if you have emails that are scheduled out, if you have posts on social media that are scheduled out, now's the time to do an audit of that content. Evaluate the messaging that's in that content. If there's anything that's if there's any messaging that could be not positioned the best for this time, now's the time to take it out. And then what can you put in place that will be more time appropriate, be more sensitive to your audience? So this is not the most entertaining or fun thing to do, but it's one of the most important things to do. I know here at Homes for Heroes, we're doing an audit of our content to make sure that everything that is going out in an email, everything that is going out on social media is sensitive to the current events. Because if your audience sees that now, whether they judge you on it today, tomorrow, or 2 weeks down the road or 2 months down the road, it could be the best intended, or it could be the content with the best intentions behind it, but just because of what we're going through as a community, as a nation, it could be there could be a misperception on how your audience receives it. So do a content audit, make sure that everything is kosher. And then the last thing that I'm going to share is don't feed into the anxiety. Feed into the positive. Right now, there is so much mass hysteria going around. Some of it warranted, some of it not warranted. I mean, we don't know what we're up against. But now's not the time to fuel the fire of fear. Now's the time to be positive. One thing I can confidently say, and without a doubt, I can say, we are the most resilient people in the most resilient nation that will make it on the other side of this potential recession, this pandemic that we're up against. These are difficult times. Time and time again, we make it through these times. We come back stronger, better, and more united than ever. That's what our country has been founded on. And that has, regardless all the changes that we've gone through as a country, through technology, through just us as a people, Those are the attributes that have remained true with our nation, and we will get through this better, stronger, and more united than ever before. But as we get through that, positivity is what we need. Unity is what we need. Being together, we're all in this together. Spur the positivity through everything that you have, through your engagement on social media, through your conversations on the phone, through the conversations that you have with your family. It's okay to recognize the reality of what we're up against, but more important than ever right now, it's important to share the positivity and not fuel the fear. When we get on the other side of this, people are going to remember, and people are going to want to tell the stories about the people that were spreading the positivity, the people who were helping and encouraging each other within their community through these difficult times. And through your personal brand, through your professional brand, I would think that's what you would want reflected, and how you would want people to remember you and your business as we make it through these difficult times. Being there to help each other, and spreading positivity, and sharing inspiration, and just sharing yourself and being there for others, no matter the ask, no matter the favor, just being there and helping. Continuing on with that positivity and not feeling the fear. So those are going to be my suggestions on how us as professionals, although things aren't business as usual, there are things that we can do today to help others, to serve others, and to expect nothing in return, but to know that based on the actions that we do and the things that we do today to help serve and inspire others will make us wealthier and more successful than we could ever imagine. Again, these are just ideas that I have that I want to share with you. You, my audience, our audience here at Real Talk with Homes for Heroes is a wealth of creativity, ideas, and information that can help others through this challenging time too. So again, I'm going to ask, please share your ideas, your inspiration, and how we can help each other through this challenging time by sharing your comments below this show. I would love to hear what you guys are doing. I'm going to have plenty of time on my hands. As I said, I'm in this apartment by myself, and I'm looking for ways to stay connected to my colleagues, my family, my friends, and being able to make sure that I practice safe social distancing, but also maintaining my relationships and not going crazy by isolating myself. So your tips, your suggestions, your ideas are going to help me as well. And I'll just say thank you in advance. And I love you all for sharing those ideas. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Real Talk with Homes for Heroes. A little bit off the cuff, not something that I would typically do or that have a background or history of doing, but I wanted to be able to produce an episode on the coronavirus and what we can do to help each other. And I really appreciate you taking the time to tune in. I hope that you found it helpful. If you did, make sure that you give this video a like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way, every time we produce a new episode of Real Talk with Homes for Heroes or Digital Dive with Homes for Heroes, you'll get notified and you can receive this great content at your doorstep. And it'll help you keep you occupied as we go through this social distancing practice that we're putting into play. And if you're tuning in on your favorite podcast directory, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure that you subscribe to Real Talk with Homes for Heroes on your favorite podcast directory, and you'll get notified every time we release a new episode of Real Talk with Homes for Heroes. Again, everybody be safe, be healthy, and be good to one another. And we're all in this together, and we will all get through this together. Love you guys. Be safe.